All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Enlightened Conversations. Really excited for today and to introduce you guys to today's guest. We have Josh Sepsey, who is out in Arizona. And Josh is a conscious musician. I don't know if he ever told me to say that, but that's just what I call it because he's creating awesome things and doing stuff in his passion. And just excited to chat with him today. Josh was introduced to me by spiritual teacher Demi Black, who I've done a podcast with, and also a bunch of workshops. And it's just really cool as you meet people in this life, and other people start coming in as a result. It's just awesome to see where life can flow. So excited to flow some cool energy with him today, and we're just gonna let this flow. No script ever on Enlightened Conversations. This is gonna flow where it flows. So without further ado from me, introduce you guys to Josh. And Josh, if you could share with the audience so they're more familiar with you, who you are, what you do, why you do it, all this good stuff.
Yeah, my name is Josh. Started on this musical journey a few years ago, actually when I moved out to Phoenix. So I feel like I had my calling, had a little awakening down in Chicago. That's a whole other story. We can get into it later if we want. But I moved out here, and I had two things I wanted to try. Like, went to college, wasn't a fan of it. Figured I wanted to find out passion. So I had two things. I had culinary and I had music. And I was like, did a little culinary in Chicago, felt it, it was a lot of fun, able to just kind of be with the ingredients, be with your hands, work with your hands, work with the food. And I always liked it because everyone's got to learn to eat. So that's why I chose it. It was like, everybody's got to eat, always going to have a job, blah, blah, blah. And then when I came out here, I went to the Art Institute, which actually closed down. And the guy was giving me a tour. Ironically, his name was Josh as well. And he goes, not really supposed to show you this portion, but I'm going to show you this like studio area. So he showed me the studio, and I immediately fell in love. I told him, I was like, don't even worry about the credits. Don't even worry about trying to transfer anything over. Like, it's all right. It's good. It's good. So I immediately went home, started looking for like different audio engineering schools, things like that. I found like community college. So then I just studied and waited a year. In that year, I like started teaching myself music theory, going into all ins and outs, trying to play keyboard, trying to find different equipment, like learning all this stuff, doing like Coursera. Heard of that? They do like online free courses and stuff like that. You can do them like I did like a Berkeley Music College one for free, which was like nuts because usually it's like a high-end college. But yeah, then I finally like found my passion, actually what I really wanted to do. And ever since then, it's just been music all the way. And I started incorporating a lot of my like spirituality into it, as far as lyrics, trying to teach things like that, and go from there. So that's like a little bit about that aspect of where I became this kind of spiritual musician. I guess you could call it conscious musician.
Yeah.
Again, I'm like Demi. I'm not a big fan of labels.
Right. I always have to find something to say about someone when I'm introducing them. Like I have to call them something. So
because people like they like want to put it to something, so I get that whole aspect. Like what are you? What do you do? Or things like that. So it's just kind of funny.
that's awesome how you describe that. Like how you weren't expecting. That's what I find fascinating about life is how the twists and turns. Like we could be all of a sudden going in a direction that we had no idea we were going to go in before that, and then find something that we're super passionate about and having a lot of fun pursuing that. You mentioned the spiritual element, so it sounds like you had some spiritual awarenesses prior to discovering music. How did that work for you? I'm always curious to know like how someone's like light bulb moment, as I call it, happened in their life.
When I was like younger, I was raised Catholic, went to church every Sunday, that whole thing, grandparents, side super, religious and everything like that. So I had always had that in the back of my head. But every time I went to church, in the back of my head, I would just like, first I would always stare at the cross and be like, I could be you. That was my aspect. Like in that, like kind of now it's developed into that kind of consciousness thing, more of like actually being him. And so what really kind of tipped it for me was when I started actually, like almost when the internet started coming out and I could start doing research. I started hearing more about little like meditations and things like that. So I started trying that on my own. And that was like back in high school, I'd always have I had like a spot that I go to all the time, and I'd start meditating. But when I went into Chicago, like this whole eye-opening like awakening happened for me, where I actually like legit for 2 weeks thought I was God, like I was God, and I had those types of powers, like I can control things, and like things that I wanted, like you say, manifested almost immediately. Where I would say, I remember one instance in particular was they were talking on the news how tomorrow is going to be one of the coldest days ever. It's going to be cloudy, gloomy. Make sure you wear, everything to cover up your face. Just your eyes should show. Blah blah. You can get frostbite immediately. I told my buddy, I was like, nah, man, it's gonna be sunny. You'll be fine tomorrow. Like, just dress normal. Like, no need to freak out. Like, we'll still be able to go to classes and everything like that. Will be fine. Next day, I'm walking to class. Sun's out, bright. Things are light out, and I was like, I'm smiling. I'm like, that's absolutely beautiful. I told you, I called it. Kind of deal. So, and like, so little things like that started happening, and then it all kind of started when I had this conversation with my buddy about life and death. I was like an early morning. Um, I was like 4 in the morning, and I was saying how, a lot of the times, we were trying to explain ghosts, and he was like, about like afterlife and things like that. And I was like, well, I mean, think about it. If you don't have anything to believe in and you die, what your energy is going to stay in the same spot that you've known for your entire life. So, hence why places get haunted. So we were talking about that. And I was like, if you end up opening up to something and opening up to a higher self or higher consciousness or something higher than yourself, like i.e. God or any other type of thing, then maybe you'll be able to transcend, because then you'll start to get information and understand that'll help you out of that stuck space that you've been in for so long. And so we got talking about that for quite some time. And then that's triggered that 2 weeks whole part. Then after that, I went home and tried to explain to my mom, oh, by the way, I figured this out, blah, blah, blah. I'm starting to understand things, and I think I'm like in this kind of higher state. And I didn't really understand, you know, to the hype what was going on. I should have been patient, and in retrospect, I'm like, I would have been a good idea if I would write it out, been a little patient. But everything happens for a reason, and so I ended up in the middle of the night one night. I had thought that I was going to be assassinated. I had some weird feeling like I gotta get out of this house. I gotta get out of here. It was like early morning. Packed my bags. I left the light trail on, left the door open. I sprinted to my neighbor's house, and there was a full moon out. I remember stopping and looking at it. It's cold. And I get to his house, and I start talking the same kind of thing. Like, I figured life out. I understand it. I understand where we come from. What we're doing. And why we're here. And I know because he's a graphic designer. I was like, I know because you're like kind of in that level, but you just don't know it. In some kind of art level. And then I ended up going to the hospital. And so in the hospital was like where things got really interesting for me, because I thought I was going to the moon. So I'm gonna go forward couple of years here. This is where I was with Demi, and she kind of explained a little bit as to what I had just done. It was a quantum leap where my body was still here experiencing these types of things, but my mind and my soul were connecting to the other dimensions of myself. And so I was seeing in vivid things and seeing things that weren't actually in the physical of my body, but they were in the other realities of myself. And so when I gave them my address, I actually gave them this address of me like living on the moon in that reality. Like I literally told them that I could see the whole picture of like everyone was in a dome. It was like 55155 was the address, and then the street, and I could see it all clearly. And I'm telling them that address, and my mom, I remember like coming back too. My mom was looking at me like, that's not your address. Like that's not where you live. And so like when I was going through that whole thing, then I ended up kind of blacking out on Friday, and then Friday morning, I don't remember anything from Friday morning all through the whole day. And I guess that was actually like a time where parents and grandparents, everyone came to see me, and I just was speaking gibberish. I don't remember that part at all. Next thing I remember is waking up to a priest doing the sign of the cross to me, and then I passed back out. And then I woke up, and from there, I didn't trust the doctor. I'm not a big fan of doctors in the first place, but I know they're here for a reason, and God bless them all right now during coronavirus. This whole thing, doing a great job. But for some reason, I was not a huge fan of him, and I didn't trust him, and I didn't know where I was. I had thought I had died. I remember I didn't really speak. I had a pen and paper, and it was me, my cousin, my aunt, and my mom. We're all there, and I'm writing to my cousin like, "Am I dead? Like, is this purgatory? Like, are you guys here to help me get through this kind of thing? Like, where am I?" And then I would only speak Spanish. Like, they're Puerto Rican. I'm Puerto Rican. And so I would speak as little, as much Spanish as I could, that I know so far. I'm not fluent in it, but I was communicating with them because I was like, well, maybe no one else can really understand me. So I'm trying to just communicate with people I know in that state. And so ended up finally getting out of there. Everything was fine. Then I saw a therapist afterwards just to kind of get going. And so right now, my head is all over the place, like all over the place. Like I had gone from thinking I knew everything was coming, manifesting great and great. And I'm feeling this almost like basically Christ consciousness aspect. Everything is open. Chakras lit up to the sky, like just crazy, bringing in these types of abilities I had no idea were even available to me at the time. And I was just, hence why I went to the hospital in complete shock. And so I get to, in hospitalization for 2 weeks or for about a week and a half. I was hospitalized, with a group of people. We each had our own bunk beds and things like that. Um, and while I was in there, this is something that I've never told too many people about the story, so it's kind of nice. This part was the most inward journey that I've ever taken. Um, Everyone that was in this, I thought this was staged, mind you. The whole time I was in there, I thought it was staged. Everyone that was in there had a reflection of somebody in my consciousness or somebody in my personal life. Like, one of them reminded me of my little brother. One of them reminded me like a dad figure. The other one reminded me of like my crazy like feminine divine side. Like there's these women, and then one of them was like a life coach, screaming she was a life coach. And so that whole time I was trying to piece together, like, they would do something and I'd be like, hey, how do I have to react? Or like, if I don't react a certain way, like, will they not let me do this? And I was never allowed to leave to go play basketball like some people were. Someone was ironically from ISU, Illinois State, which is where I'm from. And so I'm really at this point just trying to put together, my beliefs, who am I? Where do I want to go? So I tried to start reading, and I had conversations with these people. And a lot of them were patients. A lot of them were, you know, listen to your own intuition, your own self. A lot of them were, try not to believe everything you hear, um, and do your own type of research. So that was like the biggest eye-opening experience, like kind of bringing me back to life almost. Until I went and saw my therapist afterwards. Me and him had talked, and it's funny, a lot of people tried to blame this on marijuana. So I'd smoked marijuana during the time when I was like in that God state. Everyone's like, oh, it was laced, blah, blah, it's this and this and this. And I was like, first of all, there's no way. Um, Marijuana doesn't do those types of things. None of those types of psychoactives or anything like that would make you hallucinate or hear things or see those types of things. It just doesn't do that. Second of all, friend had it, same thing, same strand, nothing happened to him, blah blah. So this is all something I'm trying to figure out, like, all right, why did this specifically happen to me? What is it trying to tell me, and where do I need to go? Because all my life I've always wanted like a spiritual teacher, a spiritual coach, someone to kind of guide me and teach me these types of things. So I've been searching for that. answers of way to do things. Um, and then when I met the therapist, we had talked about all these types of things that kind of talking about now is like, I started writing a lot more, and I would show my writings, and he's like, so there's something bigger than you that you don't understand that you're trying to like tell. So you obviously know it's not the marijuana. And I was like, yeah, of course it's not the marijuana. Like that doesn't make any sense to me at all as to why it would happen to me and to not a buddy that was smoking the same strand. And so we continue to talk and kind of bring out, the things that were really hidden inside me, like my fears. I'm afraid of like doing one thing for the rest of my life, and when I found that out, wouldn't know what I wanted to do, and how I have a message that I want to give out to everybody. I want to share this message. Still trying to fine tune that message, even though I know it's more about bringing love and light into yourself and bringing that love and light to everybody else. Is one thing that I believe could help us more than anything else in the world. And so we just continue talking and talking and bringing these things out. And that's when I had um, that moment when I met him, uh, really brought faith back into humanity. He didn't charge me for any of the sessions. I saw him probably 6 or 7 times. Easily should have been like a $700-800 bill. And so God bless him for that. God bless, bringing that out and allowing me to kind of reset and move back forward. And literally 5 months after that, I moved out to Arizona and started on that music journey. Started doing that. So that was like, that was the beginning of my true awakening. Happened when I was about 20 years old, about 5 years ago.
Super interesting.
Since then, yeah.
So you're 25 now, and
Yeah.
so what Josh just described, which is this is why I love doing this podcast, because everybody has such a different life experience. And what I know about life is there's universal laws, and then everything else is possibility as far as like how things happen or what's happening or why they happened or all this stuff. So anytime I hear someone's like life experience, I'm listening and I'm just saying, whoa, that's super interesting, because I haven't heard a life experience specifically like yours, obviously, because I haven't heard your life experience yet.
Right.
When you were describing like ghosts and like what happens afterwards, like, that's interesting. Because I mean, it's all possible. Like, when there are ghosts around, it could be for that reason or another that we haven't even discovered yet. I mean, it's just pretty cool. Which can, once the light bulb comes on, which it has for you now, 5 years ago, from that point on for all of us, it's just awesome, because it's just a constant like awareness and just evolving. Our soul's just going to be evolving forever. When we're doing it consciously, then the things that we need on our journey to help us go where we want to go will find us when we're ready for those things to find us. And we don't need to know all the secrets of the universe like in this lifetime. Like, we're not going to know them. So get that out of your mind.
So many.
But the parts that infinite, but the parts that we, that are useful for us, like, we'll attract those to us when we're ready to see them and hear them, and then we can use those in our life. And it's just awesome. So now you've been, on this journey now 5 years. What are you most excited about here going forward? To the time of this recording, because somebody could hear this 100 years from now with the internet, likely being around. But right now, March 2020, what are you most excited about right now?
I'm most excited for this conscious change. I'm most excited to see what people begin to search for after this whole quarantine business. I'm excited for the Merkaba, which is one thing that I've been studying and wanting to get into ever since I heard about it. So those 3 things are the things I'm most excited for. One, the conscious change is going to be crazy. Like, it's going to be something that a lot of people are going to have these types of life experiences, not going to know what to do with it, or not going to know what happened, or going to think, am I going crazy, almost type of deal. But there's so much that's going to be trying to be downloaded. And so that's why I almost like want people to start looking more inward and reflecting outward. So pulling things in and understanding themselves and then reflecting what they want for themselves outward and the world, either on, you know, family, friends to help them see the same thing, or, you know, in a job or career, or in personal life as well. Because that's what we're here to do. We're here to bring each other up, not here to bring each other down. So the people that bring you down, I I almost feel fear for them, because they're hiding something from you. They're hiding something from the world, when they try to bring you down. It's like they're afraid. They're afraid of going up because they only know one thing, and so that the change is going to be difficult for some people. Um, and I've been talking to Demi, and it's almost like what you're doing is why you're here, you know, to help alleviate these types of changes, to help give people knowledge from these people that you do the podcast with, the people that do the workshops, to help them understand what's going on, to help them understand, you know, the internal body changes or internal mind changes, or things that are going on outside this world that can influence your inner world, that you need to learn to put up certain things when these things happen, like negative barriers, or you know, uh, I guess not negative barriers, but kind of because you can't really block any negatives. You kind of have to transmute the negatives into a positive, i.e. alchemy, which is a big study of mine. I love alchemy. I think it's one of the greatest things that's never been talked about. I couldn't find a book on alchemy in any library out here in Phoenix, Scottsdale, Tempe, any library. I couldn't find anything. But it's the transmutation that we have to go through. And that's where we're shifting up into right now. We see it in not only ourselves, but we also see it in planetary patterns, with us kind of moving up into this new kind of light fixture, with the equinox we were talking about. I was talking with Demi about the other day, um, and that's what's bringing this huge change. Which I'm glad, you know, you're still getting outside. That's one thing I'm still going to encourage people. Not that you have to go outside with 1,000 people, but you can go outside by yourself, take a walk, do something like that. Because I myself have a lot of like equipment in my room, just from having, you know, like a home studio and all that stuff, and I you get the buzzing every now and then. And that's something that you got to get outside and get out. So that's one thing I want to worry about. Another thing I'm curious as to people being quarantined, going to number two, um, and how they're going to adjust to that, because it might be a little while, and a lot of things, like I said, still going for a walk. It's going to be interesting. I'm hoping people take this time to, like we were talking about, you know, reflecting, and hope that, you know, it brings out different inner changes, you know, instead of just sitting there in front of the boob tube all day and drowning yourself out. And then the last thing, the Merkaba. This was a eye opener to me, um, and I know it's going to be used in the future. Maybe not in my lifetime. Maybe the teachings that I bring can help in future lifetimes. If you, I don't know if you've talked to anybody, or if anybody on here has talked about the Merkaba with you at all. If you
Pronounce what
had
you said, because I don't even know. Say what you said again. Did you say
the Merkaba?
No, I was going to ask you.
No?
I started to say you mentioned it a second ago, but if you weren't going to bring it up, I was going to.
I was good there, yeah. So the Merkaba is a field. It is also a vessel. I always kind of think of it as your personal space shuttle. Basically, it's a field that's been around you since you were born. It's a field that you carry right now. It is just like Da Vinci's. Was it Da Vinci's? You know, the 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 human. I forget the guy's name. Yeah, with the circle and everything like that. So that's about the span of the field. Basically, what it is it's a vessel for you to travel with, um, in a soul light. So you open up. You have to open up, you know, to it, to the higher states of yourself. Almost transmute yourself to a light, and then it spins and spins and spins to where it looks like a little, almost like a little halo or like a little UFO kind of spinning, turns into a light, and that's the um, travel light body of yourself to where you can go into different dimensions. You can travel to pretty much anywhere outside of this world. Allows you to go and come back. It allows you to stay in this body. Um, it does allow you to leave permanently. And it is a serious mechanism that not many people hear about, not many people know about, but it is talked about in ancient texts, ancient writings. It is brought up countless number of times. It is something that um, is metaphorical speaking a lot, as like a traveling vessel. So it's basically like basically in smallest terms possible, it's a personal light spaceship, I guess. But you can activate that. That's one thing that I've been trying to do. I mean, granted, it's when I read about it, it takes years and years of just meditational practice. I'm kind of getting that state. But there are stories of people that have achieved it to where one story in particular that always sticks out to me was this elderly man who told his family not to come into the room after some time, and he's been practicing. He would meditate probably 2 hours a day every day, and get to that state. He would get to this remarkable state where he just up and disappeared and just didn't come back. And so I know that it is one thing that I want to achieve, and one thing I want to show people how, teach people how to activate that. And that's just a long process that I'm still working on. We're still trying to get into information kind of that. So that's one thing I'm excited for, and in the long run of humanity
That's
is
super,
bringing that back to light.
that's super interesting. See, this is what I talk about when it comes to possibilities. Like,
Yeah.
that's a whole new one for me. Now, you have the spelling of that off the top, or I'll just Google from.
Yeah, it's MERKABA. Merkaba.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's definitely look it up online. I got a song about it. It's me and Demi. I got another album coming out that I've been working on for the last 2 years, so that'll come out in, I want to say July, August-ish, July, yeah, July, August-ish. That's another portion of information that'll be on that. Again, I like to use symbolism, metaphors, and things like that. So I'm hoping the words that I use speak to the people that need to hear it. Hopefully they can understand it. Yeah, I'm always open to questions. That's kind of why I have both my pages together, music and this whole page together. Because if you don't understand certain things that I'm saying, I understand why you don't get my music. That's okay. It's reaching to you one way or another. That's how I look at it.
No, that's awesome. I love knowing that about life, that people will hear what they're ready for.
Yeah.
And if it's one thing, or if it's nothing, or if it's a lot, then that's just where they are. That always has given me a lot of peace, because then I could just share whatever is flowing through. Not, and I try to word things in a way where, the language I'm using is accessible to as many people as possible, but at the same time, as far as what we're ready for is just what we're ready for.
Exactly.
So, and I like what you said at the beginning of, before you were talking about Merkaba, which I'm super interested in, and I'll be looking into.
Look it up, man. Dude. I can only explain so much. It's one of those things that, I mean, I've read about for a few years, but that's something that definitely I highly encourage people to Google it, look it up, find regular resources, do a Google Scholar search on it instead of doing regular Google. Google Scholar will give you actual, people that are studying that type of thing.
Yeah, that's what's fun about just being curious. And again, like, really one of my favorite things to know is that we can ask any question to the universe, or if it's more, if you're listening out there, God, source energy, spirit, all that is infinite intelligence, whatever you want to call it. We can ask any question and receive the answer when we're ready to receive it. And it might come right there. It could come through meditation, come when we're out in nature. It could come anytime. Like there's infinite ways that the answer will find us, but the answer will find us. And so I enjoy asking the questions that are just relevant to, what's important to me and what I want to create. And I can tell that obviously you're one that asks questions, and then once the answers come, like you're more than willing to study and to learn and to apply. And that makes life so much fun because all of us, there's 7.7 billion of us here, and we're all drawn to different things. And then by sharing, like you are, like you're willing to share, then the people that maybe they have a question, part of their answer could be discovering your music or some things that you say.
Right.
The universe knows how to synchronistically use all of us in the flow to where we're all co-creating all the
Yeah.
time. So that's awesome.
That's the cool thing. I mean, have you ever heard of I mean, with the experiment of religion itself, but they kind of studied the connective mindset, where they had two of the same types of like gorillas on an island. They did an experiment of one group's like teaching them one thing, and then they started growing to learn to do it. They didn't teach it on the other island, right? They learned how to do this one thing or one skill. Eventually, the group on the separated island started doing it. Just like, oh, I had this thought that we can start doing this. They developed that skill without even being taught it by this other tribe that was on the other side of the world. So when I think about that, I always think about the brought up of religion. I always think of that whole concept. They have one concept of a higher self or like a higher entity or something on this side of the world. So I can't see my hands on this side of the world, and then they have the same thing on this side of the world. Eventually, it kind of culminates. Everyone kind of now it's like we both had the same thought at the same time. Didn't speak to each other about it. Couldn't even do that without probably 40 years of trying to get onto the other side of the earth at that time. So that's one thing that's really cool about literally the consciousness, the collective. We are a collective consciousness. Someone will have a thought. Eventually, if they don't share or put it out there, I mean, granted, now we have the internet, so everything is almost can share immediately, like a conscious thought, which can be taught all over the world. TikTok's doing it. Snapchat does it. Instagram's doing it. Things and thoughts and things like that are being shared. Sometimes it's not information that isn't going to help you grow in any way, but it is still cool to see that is a definite thing that we have now, instead of having to wait for someone else to bring it up or think about it, or for it to travel years. You can travel seconds. That's one thing we should definitely take advantage of, which you're doing right now with that universal abundance. This is going to be great. That's huge, having this type of information all on one platform. Makes it a lot easier. And that's like, thought is so powerful. And I want a lot of people to understand that. Like, your thoughts control not only you, but control the outer world that you experience with your own two eyes. You have the ability more than you think you do. A lot of people think, oh, so and so did this, or this is happening, so I can't do this, or look at he's making all this money, or he's doing this, I wish I could do that. All that is not, you're not hopeful. That's not hopeful talk. That's like negative talk. So the change of thought is definitely one thing that I know people need to start working on and kind of attuning, which is why back to being in this whole state by yourself, not having to worry about in this like quarantine state. You can learn to be mindful of them. That's the easiest thing. It's the easiest thing, yet some people think it's so hard. Is the mindful self-talk. And yeah,
just being aware of it is so important. Like to actually care about it. A lot of us, before we have the awakening, the light bulb moment, a lot of us don't really, like, we're so willing to let our energy and our thoughts go off the deep end where, first we're anxious and frustrated, and then now we're angry and upset and we're blaming and we're just willing to be in that state. Like it's not a
Mhm.
problem to us. Like we don't realize what's really reflecting out. And in those states, and I'll never tell anybody there's anything wrong with being, anxious or worried or frustrated or upset. It's just part of the human experience. At the same time, we have to realize that when our frequency is in those states, like what's reflecting out is going to be a match to those states. So, what feels frustrating or worrisome or powerless, illness, disease,
Mhm.
accidents, like
Mhm.
parts of the movie of life that we really don't like to experience, the synchronicities that are like, damn, that was no fun. And
Yeah.
we just don't realize that we like to think about the synchronicities that, ooh, that was awesome, like that was really fun. Those are happening as a reflection of when you're being optimistic, like you just
Right.
mentioned, or hopeful, or just knowing that things are working out, or at peace, where it's like, okay, I don't know how this is going to work out, or when, or where, or who, if I want a relationship or whatever it is, but I know that things are evolving, and I'm just going to be peaceful with it, and I'm going to let the universe provide the synchronicities like it always does, because life really is just one big synchronicity. We can't predict any of the stuff that's going on. All we really control is the frequency that we bring to this moment here and now, and that's our choice. So when we can be aware of it and it actually matters to us, because I like to ask people, does it even matter to you if you're in a
Right.
good mood or a bad mood? Or are you just willing to be either, any day?
Jump in.
And I've been there. I mean, my biggest cause, like probably one of the most challenging times of my life was when I thought I was going to be a professional baseball player and hurt myself at 21. I couldn't play anymore. So from the time I was 2 to 21, that's all I ever thought I was going to do. So my
Mm.
life after that became about, well, how can I replace the success that I thought I was going to have and the lifestyle that I thought I was going to have? And so it all became future based and always thinking like outside of the present moment, which causes present moment depression when you're always
Yeah.
thinking, I'll be happy when, you know?
Right. Instead of I'll be happy now.
Yeah, exactly. Which is all of our choice. So, that being my greatest weakness at one point, a decade plus ago, has become my greatest strength because it matters to me. And that's what I focus on is what's my present moment, vibration, frequency, energy, mood. And then from there, man, life is so simple because then I can ask the question, get back to being present and just being at peace. And then the answer can find me when it's ready. And then when I have it, I'm
Exactly.
excited about it. So
You're
now
like,
there's
oh, that's
momentum.
it.
Yeah. It's like just
Yeah.
what you described when you were open, you were trying to see which direction you wanted your life to go in. And then the guy that was giving you the tour showed you the music studio, and you were open, and then you saw the music studio, and then that turned into an excitement and a passion, which is what I
Yeah.
love about energy is like the momentum of it, how peace can turn into excitement, passion, bliss, like
Yeah.
quickly, like momentum can carry us all the way up.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, man, I love that you
That's
point.
the that's
Lots
the
of people.
greatest part about the higher frequencies is the higher frequencies, they jump on you and they can exponentially grow so fast. If you stay with them and you spiral with them, man, they just let you ride that out. And that's one thing that's really hard. Like that's why you hear, like, if you ever listen to a sound frequency, the higher frequencies are always high pitched. They're moving so fast, moving so fast. If you can catch on to that in your own self and your own higher self, I mean, grow to that type of frequency. That's why I love sound so much. Everything around us is just a vibration. Vibration in turn turns to a sound. Um, that's one thing I kind of like fell in love with music. You can do so much with it. Um, I got myself a little singing bowl, trying to get a handpan. Have you ever heard of a handpan?
Mhm.
Oh man, if you look up a handpan is like this beautiful intuitive instrument. It's this drum, but it has like notes at each kind of like almost like sometimes they're different octaves, but they're all just different notes throughout the whole thing. And man, you see people play that with their hands, and it is the most beautiful melodic tone ever. But it's such an intuitive instrument that you can't really like. I never really seen like sheet music on it.
Mhm.
You can't. It's almost like hard to. I mean, I'm sure you can, because it's a note. Still, you can still create, But it's just such a beautiful intuitive instrument. That's one thing that I've can't wait to get. I got a little mini one right now, but um, yeah, on that, I mean, like, I can't wait until we develop. I'm sure they're already out there. I'm sure it's already out there and going. But the way that sound frequencies can heal so many different things. Like sound frequencies are able to go in and kind of just zap certain things. They already use sound frequencies as like a barrier in military equipment. But I mean, different types of things. Cancer could heal different types of um, traumas, different diseases, things in the brain, things like that. I mean, it's just electromagnetic. I mean, even like any type of frequency. That study should just blow up in the next few years, as we've already developed these types of things. So that would be something huge for medicine. Um, would save countless lives. Another thing too, I mean, about that is just um, like raising your own vibration. Um, on top of that, is one thing that I believe is going to be needed. Definitely starting, which is cool. Cool to see, cool to bring up like people you don't really like expect to have these types of conversations with or something like that, and they bring it up, and you're like, whoa, like where did that thought come from? Like, where did you hear about that? Like, all right, let's start, talking. Like, what do you think about it? And it's just really cool. Like, when I overhear different conversations like that on a bus or a train, or when I'm out and about or at a restaurant, I just kind of smile. I'm like, that's pretty cool. I've thought about this for years, and now here's another person like that you never would think. So there's more people connected out there than seem to believe. And I just want to reach all those people. I want to bring them all. And it's huge. That's one of the messages that I want to develop so much is the love and light, and kind of bringing that to yourself, not depending on the outside world for that. Because once you bring it to yourself, your outside world will reflect that. That's one thing I've been trying to work on, and I have been working on and developing and things like that. And synchronicities. I read this book. It was called, what was it called? It was a green book title. Dang.
It'll come to you. What I love, what Jack, what you're thinking about that, I'll speak, and it'll pop into your mind. I love when I lose my train of thought. If we just keep the frequency of where the thought came from, then it just pops. What Josh mentioned when it comes to like sound healing and frequencies, the reason that that's so healing is because it allows someone to tune in to that frequency, which from that frequency, our body is able to be well, because we're connected with all that is. We're connected with wellness, so well-being. And so our body's
Right.
able to tune into that, which it just makes it easier because we don't need the sounds to do it. That's a beautiful tool. Same things like crystals and like Reiki. There's so many just different tools that we have to where it allows the human frequency to tune to that so that we can vibrate at that frequency. But we don't need any of it to do it. We can allow our vibration to rise. It wants to be there. That's why
Yeah.
I'm such a like advocate of just being at peace, because from peace we can find those frequencies because of momentum. Like it's
Right.
very unlikely that any of us we're gonna go from like being frustrated to bliss in like that's not really reachable, But we can go
No,
from frustrated to like releasing it and like being at peace, and then from
yeah.
there we can have a good idea, or all of a sudden you could be clicking on YouTube, or not even clicking, like you could be in the shower and then this like sound healing like little freaking melody is just playing. Like, what is this? I had some awesome stuff just show up on and obviously when you're looking for cool stuff and like you're open to it, then the universe can be like, well, here's something here,
Yeah.
and here. So yeah.
That's funny, man. Yes, I love that type of stuff. That stuff brings joy to my life. Like even the smallest things, you notice, like that's one thing that I think has just been able to keep me in that state for so long is like just the small type of synchronicities. Like, try to give an example here of like, when you're like, just think like when I'm writing, for example, thinking of a verse, it's like, I'll be writing, I'll be stuck, and then I'll just go back, and as soon as I hear the beat one more time, it brings in like the same type of vibrational pattern. Or I'll just be writing, or I'll be on a beat, I'll open my book, and I'll have like something that I wrote like a year ago, and it'll fit perfectly, and I'm like, wow, that's just beautiful, like that's sweet. Like those types of things are something that I think we take for granted for. And if you let those allow to bring more light into you, like even the smallest things, like you can see that stuff stack, just continue to stack up. And a lot of times too, I mean, even the negatives, I try not to dwell on them too much. It's one thing that hurts a lot of people. And one message that I wanted to get out, for those with anxiety negative thoughts, panic attacks. I've been there before. I understand that aspect. A lot of that, I may get yelled at, is in the mind. A lot of that is tough. A lot of it could be a chemical imbalance. But a lot of the times, if you've studied it, thought can change your DNA. Thought can change a DNA pattern. Things you watch, the things you eat, things you do, the things you think about, all have an effect on your DNA. And you're able to change that. Even at this age, even as you grow older, you can continue to move it. If your DNA is energy, if your vibration, if that's vibration, and you yourself are energy, you should still be able to continue to change that based on your influx of what you see, what you do, what you eat, what you hear, all those things, and what you think. All those things have an effect on that of your own personal DNA. And you can change it. And that's one thing that I've wholeheartedly believed in. If you don't want to have those types of things, if you don't want to feel that type of way, when those thoughts arise that trigger that, acknowledge them. Don't let them go. I mean, you can't really not have those thoughts. Acknowledge them. Say, hey, I remember that. This brings on this type of emotion. I don't want to feel that way. So this is no longer going to serve me. So I'm going to drop that. It may take some time. It's not going to happen immediately. And that's one thing that I can't stress enough is the time that it takes to actually achieve it is about how long or double how long it's been happening to you. So if you think about that, if it's been happening for the past 3 years, the time it might take to achieve that could be 6. Unless you work on it constantly, then you can probably cut the time down. But if you want to get rid of that, it's going to take a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort, and it's a lot of mental effort, and I understand that. But it is achievable. And that's one thing that I want to push out. It is possible. Anything that you want to change in your life is possible. You understand that, and you've done that with your whole baseball career. Like, that's great. I'm sure that was a shock. Because I'm a huge sports fan growing up, man. And I thought, I played football a lot, and I'm a scrawny guy. Like, I was probably one of the smallest people on the team growing up. But I pushed myself. I ended up being, varsity junior year, pushing myself, and even my grandfather told me, I didn't think you were gonna be able to do that. Like I wasn't expecting that. Just because I was small, I was, skinny and stuff like that. But I'm a big believer. Put yourself to it and grinded, and it happened. And so once I saw that, I was like, well, I can do that with a lot of different things. So I jumped on a lot of different things that I wanted to do that with. So that's cool that you're doing this. And it's beautiful that you come in at this exact moment in time when we're all trying to work on this. It's huge.
Yeah. No, I love what you just said. What I want to tell the audience, I'm super inspired to share. It's all practice. So the first and foremost is the awareness, because without it, we don't even have a choice. So that's the reason I do, the overlying reason I do everything is to help people have the awareness. I call it the light bulb coming on. From there, it's a choice. Just to simplify it, once you have the awareness, you're 99% of the way there. The 1% is always a choice in the moment, because none of us are permanently enlightened or permanently happy or permanently anything, permanently anxious, permanently having panic attacks. It's in the moment that you're experiencing any of this stuff. So in any moment that you're, connected, with God, universe, love, all it is, source energy, whatever you want to call it. And when you're in frequencies, vibrations of peace, content, happy, joyful, excited, passionate, love, bliss, whatever, anything that feels good, in those moments, you'll never have a panic attack. You'll never be blaming anyone. You'll never be condemning anyone, because in those states, when you're blaming someone, you're in a frequency of, we'll label it blame, or we'll label it frustrated or angry or upset or whatever it is. So again, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but when we're experiencing these points of our life where if we're watching a movie in the theater and we're like, damn, they're going through some hard stuff, those frequencies are just a match to, what's reflecting out. It's a match to that in part of the movie. So if we're aware of it and we want to do something about it and change it, and for me, I'll give an example. One of the biggest challenges because of my sports career, I just was able to go all the way back. And as kids, little alpha males, competitors, I was always one of the best kids, and there was always other kids that were good, but we used to just talk so much shit to each other, just constant. It was just if anybody from the outside was listening to a conversation with us on the team, they might be like, do they even like each other? Like, are they going to fight? Like, what's going on? And this is just like what we got used to. This was normal for us. And this is from the time I'm like 5 to the time I got stopped playing at, 22. And so this is just, a normal thing. And so going into like the real world, not even realizing this before I knew any of this stuff about energy or anything, I noticed like me being really critical of myself and others still. I've never been the type to where I'm like just verbally like assaulting people. Like that's never been my thing. But even mentally, like if somebody like speeds past you on the highway and then you start talking shit, it's just like, for me, it's never gone so much momentum to where it's been road rage or anything. But that's possible for any of us if our momentum keeps going, to where you might want to, speed up after them or like give them a piece of your mind or whatever. So my point is, the only way I even became aware of that was affecting my energy was I asked the question to the universe to show me some blind spots that I knew that I had. All of us at some point in our life have blind spots, things that have become habits for us that we don't even know that are affecting our present moment energy. And it's doing it a lot because the older that we get, the more habits of thought that we have. Like literally I've seen stats now where it's like by the time we're 30, that 90% of our thoughts have become habitual and we think 70,000 thoughts per day. So that makes our life pretty predictable if you're thinking the same thoughts you thought yesterday and the day before. If you were anxious and worried most of the day yesterday, most likely that's going to be the case today and tomorrow until you're like, whoa, like this is what's going on and I want to change it. Now it becomes a practice. And how much time it takes, who knows? But if it matters to you, you'll keep doing it. You'll keep doing it until you like, even till this day, which what I just described about being critical, like that came to me in meditation. So then I started paying attention to it. So from that day, even until today, like I think I did this maybe 2 days ago. If I ever find myself being critical of myself or someone else or anything, first thought, stop it, Noel. Like I said, stop it, Noel. Like I said immediately, like I'm not willing to keep going for a minute or an hour or a day. So where it's just not, because I've lived that life and I know what it leads to, and it's not fun for what we feel inside, and it's not fun for what it leads to reflecting outside. So if it matters to you out there, who cares how long it takes to just practice.
with everything, practice. The practice makes perfect is so cliche, but it fits in so many scenarios. And it's so funny to me, like, I always ask the question why too. Like if you're still, thinking about something that's made you angry a few days ago, like you said, road rage, for example, is a big thing. Buddy will come back, I can't believe that person like jumped in front of me or did that, and I'm like, wasn't that 2 days ago? Like, why are you still thinking about that? Why is that still bugging you? And then it just, like you said, keeps you in that state of vibration. And it almost feels like I've been there and I understand being in those slow movements. And now that now that we're talking about it, it almost makes sense. It's like when you're in that lower frequency, everything seems to move slower. Your days feel longer, they feel more drowned out. You feel stuck, you feel brown. And that's literally the wave pattern. It's so long and slow, and you're in that vibrational pattern. Now that those things are starting to click, so I'm glad that's kind of almost like coming full circle for me right now. Because when you're in it and things feel faster, and that's when you get to like, wow, things are just flying by right now. I'm just kind of in it, and these things are happening to me that I wanted, that I've been like just waiting for. And like, oh, like for so many people now, when you're living it, you can tell when they're telling their stories. Like, yeah, I was just thinking about like, doing this with so and so the other day, and then 2 days later, here we are doing it. Like, it's possible for everybody to be able to achieve that state. Again, like it's just that practice of getting to that point to be able to do that is a huge step. And we love to provide those types of things. I know there's a lot of people in here that do workshops for those types of things, and so I highly recommend finding those people if you're curious. Or even me. I mean, I'm going to start doing a lot of things here in the moment with me and Demi are getting things together. We're doing a whole. I'm sure she's on here talking about her mind engineering. I took that course, and that drastically changed not only my thought process, but how quickly that I can, like you said, get that stop moment, get that moment of clarity, and make the right choice in the thought process, not in the right choice in the physical of like, oh, okay, I want to do this, this, and this, but in the right choice in your own personal thought process, because that's where it's going to start. Of what should I think of next? Or, should I follow this thought? Is this going to lead to something that I need to know? Is this going to lead to some type of information that's going to follow me out? Um, and I do that a lot with meditation, of choosing which thoughts to follow down the rabbit hole. I think that's one of the greatest ways to think about it. Is this going to bring me peace? Is this going to bring me happiness? Is this going to bring me the answer that I want? Or is this going to start making me feel like the emotion? And that's where then I start feeling the body. So first is that choice, that thought process, and then it's the emotion as to what the body is feeling. If I start going down this thought and I'm like feeling anxious or not feeling it, then I'm like, okay, I got to cut that off. That's not what I want my body to feel like. That's kind of destroying my insides. So then I bring back and go back to, okay, maybe I'll try this thought process and follow on that. And I start, if I find my body like randomly I'll smile, or I'll get a tear of joy or something like that, then I know it's real. Then I know it's legit. Then I know it's an experience. Then I know it's not me bringing in that information. That's from something else. So those are the types of things that are really, like you said, the awareness is huge. It really is that 99%. It really is understanding not only yourself, but your inner self and your body's emotions. It's all tied together. It's all tied together. Thoughts, the way your body reacts, and your emotions and your feelings, all tied together. So being able to understand your vessel first, then bringing it out is huge. So yeah, it's kind of coming full circle for me.
I love it. No, this has been awesome conversation. Only other question I have for you, and you've been doing it the whole time, but I'm just curious to see. I'm always curious to see what people have that they want to share, because knowing that somebody could be attracted to this episode right when it's released, or 100 years from now. I don't know if I'll still be here in the physical 100 years from now, people, but you can still connect with me energetically. Look me up. I'm still thriving. It's all good. Josh as well.
Yes.
So, but anything that you feel inspired to share with humanity, no matter when they hear this, that you feel would uplift them. You've been doing it the whole time, so could easily say just refer back to the rest of the conversation. But anything else that wants to flow out of you, just want to leave it.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest things would be to follow your heart. That stuff doesn't lie. As cliche as it sounds, like I know I've said that a million times, but a lot of these phrases, they actually have a deeper meaning than what you actually think is actually happening. Understand it. Understand yourself first, and that's something to take the time for right now. And bring light to yourself. Don't try to bring light if you can't bring it into your own heart, because then you're bringing almost like a tainted light to everyone around you. So be mindful of that. Be mindful of your thoughts. Be mindful of anything inside of you that may be fear-based or anything like that, and understand that process and transmute it to something happy. Um, because that's the only way to truly be happy in this world. A lot of fears, a lot of things holding us down right now. So continue to transmute that to light, as drear as these things may sound or seem. There's always going to be that, and it's coming in more and faster than you know. So a lot of these things are going to be a little easier for you now, and that's one thing that's why I'm so excited about this transformation in your life. Is it's not going to be as hard to reach these types of states. It's not going to be this hard, because we're all becoming more aware. Said that huge state of awareness is just going to open up to so many people now. And I also want to say, keep a lookout for all these other workshops. Keep a lookout for my music. One thing huge, it's all going to be linked in here. It's going to be on Spotify. It's all there already. Next stuff will come out, and I'll keep you guys posted on that. And Noel, it's been great. I don't know if anyone else has questions, but this has been a great talk, and I really appreciate it. Hope we can get some more down, get some workshops going. Let's start creating some of those here in the future.
For sure. For sure, brother. Yeah. I appreciate you. This definitely the first collaboration, definitely not the last by any means. Definitely. I'm excited. I always know that, it's fun. Once I connect with someone and start to feel the energy that they're coming with, I know, it's going to create a fun conversation that I'd want to have with you anyway. And I'm just happy always that I'm such a recording snob now. Like I want it all to be recorded and shared, because Like it would seem like a disservice if you and I were the only ones that benefited from this. Even
Right.
energy into the collective. I, just, like, I want the actual, like, tangible, like, words to be heard by people that are attracted to it. So I'm very happy about that. And yeah, definitely any collaborations that come out of this, and I'm excited. Now I'm super excited also to dig into your music.
Yeah,
Actually,
man.
on Spotify yesterday. I found you on Spotify.
Did you? Nice. Yeah, those first four are like almost like I consider them a prelude. It kind of dives into what I'm doing, with, Dreaming in Reality is a great start, to show you the rest of the way that I'm going.
You
And then
producing the actual tracks as well? Like,
oh yeah,
sounds?
yeah.
Love it.
I make all the sounds. This next album I produced actually. I mean, on those four songs, I produced everything, wrote all the lyrics. I do everything on my own. The only one I didn't do, a buddy of mine, Shakel, he produced the last album. His beats. I mean, he's crazy. We're gonna be collabing on more music coming soon. He's just a drum wizard. But yeah, I produced all the beats on these four, and then the whole next. I think I got 14. Produced everything and kind of try to make it a huge fluid sound piece to where everything kind of flows really nice together and ends, and then it just comes full circle. So that's one thing I'm really proud of. So if you do listen to it, if you got like 30 minutes, it's just a one full fluid piece with words. Yeah, there's a meditational piece on the next one too, actually. There is a meditational piece on that one. That one I have Demi feature on. That one is gonna be cool. That one I'm really hopeful for people to hear that. And take it as meditation. Don't take it as I'm just listening to a song. I really want people to actually sit, kind of follow along with that. So then, not doing it. So
I love it. I love music so much. The frequency, I could feel just the art. Anything someone pours passion into, I could feel the frequency that they were in while creating it. Because especially when you're producing music and sounds, like, you can only produce those sounds from a frequency that is able to, like when you were mentioning the intuitive instrument that you were talking about, even though you could, jot down the musical notes, like, to teach somebody how to get to that frequency to be able to find them. Don't know. Unless there's like a button to coordinate with that note, which didn't sound like there was. So that's the intuitiveness of it, which is awesome. Yeah. That's what I love about music. I can feel where the producer was while creating that. And like, every once in a while, it doesn't happen nearly as much as I would like it to. I want it to happen more. And eventually maybe I'll connect with you. And I've been putting it out there for a while that in the right timing, I'll be able to learn how to create some of the frequencies that I really love. So I can fool around with, because every once in a while a song will come on, I'll be like, dang, what is this? The volume goes way up. Like, my favorite is nice. This thing, like, I kid you not, Josh, like, when a song comes on like that, I will put it on the full volume and like and I'm just like, the vibration.
You just bask in it.
It's
crazy. Good. Man.
I have his big brother too, but I can't bring that out. It's way too loud. I could do a block party for that. Like
I got I'll do one of these here. I got my whole little setup. I got my big speakers, my big JBLs. I got a subwoofer on the bottom, but yeah, man, I'm big in sound. Big in sound. Like, I fell in love with, like, I mean, it's nice. I like in the studio. That stuff costs money. So, but studio sound is so much. It's so clear. Like, I remember when I was taking classes and they let me, like, I was allowed to go in by myself and actually just do, mess with the compressors and things like that. I was in there for 3 hours. I had no idea. He went through 3 classes. He comes in, he's like, "Are you done?" And I was like, he's like, "I gotta go." And I was like, "I'm sorry. I didn't know how long I was in here for." Like, I just was so absorbed. It sounds so crisp.
That's the example you were just using with the frequency waves, like how time, when it's really dense energy, time goes slow, but then when we're freaking vibing, it goes so quick. That's how
you have no idea. It's just
this past, since I've been on quarantine, that's how it's been for me. Because I'm just like, well, the only thing I really occupy my time while I'm at home besides creating is, like, I watch sports on TV, which I love. Like, and normally there's like a basketball game on mute, and I'll be editing, and it'll take me twice as long to make the video because I keep looking up. I just enjoy it. Like, I'm gonna watch LeBron, and like, I'm just gonna watch. So, but now that that's like gone, I was like, well, I'll just fill my calendar up with as many podcasts and recordings and workshops. So it's fun. Now the week is just, like somebody told me yesterday that they've been quarantined for a week. I was like, at first I thought they were lying because I was like, I was just talking to you and you were inviting me to come to some place. I was like, damn, that was a week ago. So it just like immediately just went by.
Yeah. It's crazy how it flies like that.
Yeah.
Some people, man, are just sitting here like, this could be some people's longest week of their life.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I saw a meme that said somebody had finished Netflix. I was like, who even thinks to say that? Like it's a video game or something.
Like 5,000 hours. Like I just beat the game. I just beat Netflix.
So,
oh man,
this has been fun. Well, I appreciate you, brother, and I'm excited for people to hear this. You guys share this episode with anybody that you're inspired to share it with, and share it on social media. It'll impact the people that are ready to hear it. And thank you guys out there that have already rated and reviewed the podcast. You're making it easier for people to find. Like that's a big deal, especially on like iTunes. So if you've already left a review, thank you. Leave another one specific to. Start leaving them specific to each episode if you're inspired to. That would be awesome. Like episode number, because this one will be episode 125, if I'm correct. I'm pretty sure. So like episode 125 with Josh. Like I learned this, and this. I'm gonna start asking the audience to do that. That'll allow people to discover things easier.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you can pinpoint certain things.
There's so many powerful freaking humans that I feel so fortunate because these are all conversations I would want to have anyway. And so like every single one of them, except for the first two, I haven't ever talked to like a at length conversation with anyone besides like episode 1 and episode 2. So I'm getting to like vibe with all these humans that I would want to vibe with anyway. And I just know when people discover this, just like, you want to binge listen to something, like listen to these episodes.
I mean, a lot of people are loving these types of like podcasts, like, you know, and it's building up and it's so much fun. Like I enjoy it. Sure. I enjoy listening to them, and definitely like you get so much information. Like I can only imagine like how much just like without you even knowing how much like your brain has grown, how much like it's just the amount of information that you kind of have. Like you probably can't, I mean, like tap into all right now, but if you're like talking to someone and it spikes and triggers, you're like, oh yeah, I remember that so and so said this like when I was talking to them, and like you can continue that like that thought process. Like I think that is like that's a gift. Like that's awesome that you're doing that. I mean, it's great for everyone else to be able to listen to and get that type of information too.
Spell for me again so I can write down
my new friend Merkaba, MERKABA.
Awesome. I know I'm not the only one listening to this that wanted to so awesome.
Yeah, man, that's a big piece. It's very ancient, and that's why I'm drawn to it. Just how old it is and how long like time it's lasted. Like the flower of life. Everyone, I mean, a lot of people on podcasts probably talk about flower of life, tree of life. I got the tree of life tattooed on here. A tree of life here, just based on like my like story, and then Metatron's cube, like those different types of shapes, actually bring out a lot of information, and it covers the Merkaba. The Merkaba's inside those shapes. Just drawing them. I drew out the flower of life the other day. Not the other day. I drew it out like a couple of years ago. I like to say the other day because it seems like it. When I drew it out, it was just like my brain, like I like my eyes kind of like shook, and like my head almost got like a huge head rush, and like it was just like this. It was crazy because like I can see it. You look at pictures, but I had read somewhere that if you draw it out personally, it actually like will have a bigger effect. So I did, and it was such a big rush of not that I know what kind of information I got, but I know it was something, because of those types of symbols, and that's why everything was symbols back in the day. It's a lot more powerful than our words and things like that. So yeah, definitely look it up. Let me know. Just shoot me a message if you have any questions on that, or if you're curious. Because we're going to be working on that. Me and Demi are working on that portion too.
Oh, that's awesome. That makes life so fun, dude. Knowing all the possibilities that are out there. Like that's why, again, like I'm always I'm like a little kid, man. I'm just ready for the next here we go. Here's something else.
I'm so excited.
It'll be that way. Like I could live 100 more years, you too, and it'll be something that we discover 100 years from now. Like, dang, I didn't, and it's just constant. So
no idea.
Yeah, we're open to that.
Constant learning is something that I love, and it's so open with this type of stuff. Like you can learn for the rest of your life, and that's what you should do. I encourage that, and that's what I kind of like decided on myself was, I got to do one thing for the rest of my life. When I heard about that when I was like really young, I like almost like I like freaked out. I was like, I got to do one thing forever, like to make money to live. Like, what the heck? Like, what the hell? Why? And like, I was all questioning that. And then, now when I think about it, come to terms with it, I was like, well, I would have loved to learn for the rest of my life and just kind of that be the main thing. So, this is something that you can learn forever. And if I can learn and teach it at the same time and help benefit, then by all means, I'm going to do the hell out of that with all my might. Like,
this illustrates why collaboration, like why I wanted to put together something that was just more than just me sharing the things that I'm aware of, because I'm just like one like fraction of the universal like awareness that's out there. So that's why it's like, now there's, I've collaborated with, 125 people. A year from now, it'll be like 325 or 525.
Yeah.
As they're adding people too, it's just like the multiplication of how impactful what we can create together is infinite. And then at the same time, like it creates in and of itself something so valuable that, I mean, it could do for whoever wants to utilize this. Like, it's almost like giving someone like a valuable like gym that, it's not just my gym. It's like, here, you can go make money off this gym too.
Right here. Let me tip you off a piece.
Yeah. Take what you need. Like,
yeah.
More than enough. So we're always adding to it too. It's not like a finite gym. It's like it's a growing gym. So
yeah, it grows.
What you need. So, I've never said that, but that was actually fun to say. I like that analogy a lot.
Good analogy, yeah. I like that too.
Awesome.
I got this. This is my guy, Lemurian quartz. Quartz is big. If you can find a piece.
That was on the table?
No, I've been holding it. I always hold this thing.
Nice.
Yeah.
Dude, I did a talk. It'll be the episode before yours, I think. Yeah, with a lady that channels through crystals, like literally channels the vibration of. It's super awesome, that conversation.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that one out.
Like she had some insights on like quartz, and she shared some things on the episode that was pretty cool. I think, pretty sure it's going to be episode right before yours, 124.
Yeah, I worked on this ranch that literally had a quartz garden. There was so much quartz in that area that like that area was just so vibrant. You can feel how it was all raw quartz. There's so much energy. Like I brought a couple pieces home just to have with me because of the fact of how crazy it was, and like how much energy is actually stored and stuff that can be stored in quartz. I mean, you use battery powered watches. That's such a huge element.
She said quartz can, like, if somebody didn't have like a huge amount of money to invest in a bunch of different types of crystals, she said the quartz can actually take on the characteristics of any other stone. It's like I don't think she called it the master stone, but it's something of that nature where it's like, so if somebody wanted like the features of like obsidian, like they could have actually feel the features of that.
So you'd have like a piece of obsidian and like a big piece of quartz to like magnify? Is that what she's saying?
If you're gonna have one piece, she's like, get some quartz, because it can, like, the things that you're getting the other stones for, the quartz can do also. Like, it's like the master stone. Like it can do everything that all the other ones can't.
That's good to know. I'm gonna have to check that one out.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
I'm gonna try to put one of these podcasts out every day so I can get through them. Like that's the thing with me. It's just like I don't like them just sitting there like waiting. Like it's gonna be about 2 weeks before this comes out, but if I can put one out every day, then it'll be sooner.
You got these on iTunes too?
Things. Say it again.
You got these on iTunes too?
Yeah, iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, everywhere.
Okay.
Yeah, all that stuff. Yeah, man.
Sweet.
I'll let you know when it's all out. I don't think I ever officially ended. You guys, I appreciate you all. Sending you all love and light whenever you hear this, whether right now or 100 years from now. Appreciate you all. Thanks, Josh, for coming on and sharing your love and light in that.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks, Noel.
Yeah. I may or may not. I'll probably add all that last part in there too. But I realized I never officially ended it, so I had to do that. I have that. People were like, you just stop talking.
We just gotta like cut out there.
Yeah.
I get that.